Good morning. Thank you for joining us today on another episode of Live with Senior Trade Shows. My name is Esther. 𝐰𝐰𝐰𝐰 is streaming live from Houston, Texas. It is a beautiful weather out here in Houston. Don't you just love the fall weather, the cool breeze that comes with it? I love fall weather. That's my favorite season, and I'm so glad we're here today. I pray that you and your family are doing great, staying safe and hopeful. Another warm welcome to all of you that are joining us this morning. We are grateful for your support. So what is Live with Senior Trade Shows? What is our show all about? If today is your first time joining us, I would like to take this opportunity to let you know what our show is all about. Live with Senior Trade Show features various subject matter experts that empowers the senior community, their caregivers, families, veterans, and their family through education and resources. We discuss aging-related topics and resources that would help seniors and their families make informed decisions to help them age well. So who are our viewers? Our show is viewed by seniors, veterans, caregivers, their families, and service providers. And we hope that you would be able to get some information that can help you or your loved one today. So what is today's hot topic? Today's hot topic is focused on caregiving and Alzheimer's. We all know that September is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. And today we would like to use our platform to bring more awareness about the disease and caregiving. Our hope is that today's live show will leave you encouraged and inspired. If you happen to be a part of the 16 million American caregivers caring for a senior with Alzheimer's disease and dementia, you could learn one or two things from our guests as they share their stories. So please stay tuned, stay till the end so you can get more out of this. Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the US. It is. 16.1 million Americans provide unpaid care for people with Alzheimer or dementia. Those caregivers provided an estimated 18.4 billion hours of care valued at $232 billion. This data was pulled from the Alzheimer's Association website, so we can infer from this data that Alzheimer is a disease that affects the aging population. So this is the reason why we decided to use our platform to bring more awareness about this. So thank you so much for tuning in and for joining us. Again, if you have any question, please don't forget to use the comment section. If you have any question, just use the comment section and we would answer any question that you have. Thank you so much for joining us. Please be engaged by asking questions, liking and sharing our videos. We always appreciate you for tuning into our show. So I will be welcoming our guests today. And I have here with me Alan and Polly. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Esther.
You're welcome. Alan and Polly are the founders and hosts of the 𝐼𝐼𝐰 in the Fam podcast. They created 𝐼𝐼𝐰 in the Fam podcast to tell a different kind of story about caregivers and warriors forever fighting for a cure for Alzheimer. So let's give them a warm welcome and get ready to be inspired and encouraged as they share their story. Welcome once again.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
So tell us, how's the weather over there?
Well, I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, and the weather's beautiful today. Blue sky, no humidity, 70 degrees. But similar to Houston, yesterday was 80-some degrees and very humid. So, but today's gorgeous day.
Yeah, and I'm based in New York City. I live in Brooklyn, and I adore the fall as well. I was totally vibing with you when you were talking about your love for the fall, and the northeastern part of the United States, as the leaves start to change color, it's just spectacular. So enjoy the month of September, and looking forward to the next few weeks when the leaves really start to catch fire.
I know. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and I'm I'm glad to have you. So let's just jump into it. Alzheimer's, caregivers. If you don't mind, Alan, tell me a little bit about you. Let our audience know who you are and what you do, and I'll put you on the screen by yourself.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, hey everyone. My name is Alan, and I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. Polly is the oldest, and so the 4 of us started a podcast to share our family's story about caring for our mother and our journey. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2013. And this followed several years of us just noticing major changes in her behavior. It's been very therapeutical to tell our story. And we hope that it's really beneficial to those who are going through a similar journey. Besides that, I am part of a really wonderful global company that's headquartered here out in New York. We do we focus on live events and internal communications for companies all over the world. I'm also a dad with 2 young kids, so a part of our stories is also our children's stories of them experiencing this as their our mother and their grandmother struggles with Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah. So, Polly, can you tell us about yourself, please?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Polly. I'm the oldest in the family in All's in the Fam. And as Alan said, we noticed our mom declining for a while and then eventually got an official diagnosis. We were the primary caregivers for my mom for quite a few years before we later moved her into a memory care facility. I am, as the oldest, was doing most of the caregiving along with my sisters because we live closer to my mom than Alan does. Before doing this, I was a human resources director at a large financial firm, and now I do human resources consulting on the side. But I have 2 kids, and during the time my mom was really increasingly losing her memory and losing herself to Alzheimer's, they were transitioning from middle school through high school and college, and they were a big part. I mean, Alzheimer's isn't just the one person living with the disease, it's everyone in the family, at least in our case.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, when I did my research and I looked up on the Alzheimer's Association website and I saw the statistics, that really hit me hard, you know. It's the 6th leading cause of death in the elderly population. And it's not about the services that are not paid for. That's by the way. But to know that this is a disease that is ravaging the senior population, it's something that I pray and hope that they come up with a cure, you know, to help eradicate this. So tell me, tell our audience how did this podcast come about? Well, I know you told us a little bit about your mom, but if you can go into in depth how what inspired this.
Yeah. So the 4 of us siblings, we have a text chain, as I'm sure that lots of siblings do. And it was probably a couple of years ago where I just had this idea in my head for a podcast called All's in the Family. And I think I shared it with my sisters, and we kind of just kicked the idea around via text for a while. And last year around the holidays, I try and really set a few goals for the upcoming year and identified this as something that I really wanted to get off the ground, and enlisted Polly's help and support. And we got the first few episodes off the ground. And after a few episodes, we got our siblings, Bonnie and Tracy, involved as well. And we publish every 2 weeks, and just today we published our 13th episode. So we're slowly growing a community episode by episode, and that's a little bit about how it came about.
Awesome.
I think I want to mention that Alan came up with the original idea, but I really thought it was such a great idea because as we started early on with my mom losing her memory and with Alzheimer's, I really didn't know what to do. And I found myself mentioning things to my friends, to other people I knew. And almost every time I would find someone who had a family member, even a more distant family member, say a grandmother or an aunt, who had Alzheimer's as well. And hearing their stories helped me so much, hearing how their family dealt with it. So we really wanted to come out with the community and tell them, you know, we were lost and what we figured out to do and how we just wanted to tell our story in hopes of helping other people.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate. How has Alzheimer's affected your family dynamics, and when did you start noticing symptoms, and when was she diagnosed? Because sometimes people don't even realize that this is what is happening. So can you share a little bit about what you noticed and when she was diagnosed?
Sure, I can start out, and Polly and I talked about this in our very first episode. We can sort of trace the timeline of our mother's decline with my son's, my first son's birth. He's 11 now, so we noticed when he was an infant 11 years ago that our mom just couldn't do simple little things. At first, it was just like I was showing her how to put together a baby bottle, which had like 4 pieces. And of course, she had, at that time, she had raised 4 kids and was very, very involved in her previous 6 grandchildren. I'm the youngest, so my 2 kids are grandkids, 7th and 8th. And so it was just very strange to us that, you know, the things that she was struggling with, like I remember when I first brought my kids over for a longer stay, maybe it was an overnight stay, and showing her how to make the bottle, I kind of left being like, she's not going to make the bottle correctly. And at first I thought, oh, you know, that generation, they're just set in their ways and have their own ways of doing it. But then in those months, and as those months continued, there were more telling signs. So there was an incident where I'd coordinated with my mother, and keep in mind, I live in New York. So when I visit, I travel a few hours to be there. So I'd coordinated a visit with my mom to take my newborn son to my mom's house, the house I grew up. And, you know, when I arrived there from New York, she just wasn't home. And eventually she showed up, and she was getting her hair done and was just really casual about it. So at first it kind of hurt my feelings. She was so involved in and just so in love with her first 6 grandchildren that I felt a little almost jealous or slighted even. You know what? She doesn't like my kids enough. Is she mad at me that I'm the one kid that moved out of the Washington, D.C. area? And, you know, we very quickly started to realize that this was a pattern of behavior that continued to get worse.
Oh. Polly, did you want to add to that?
Well, yes. I remember the specific incident Alan just described where he came all the way from New York and my mom wasn't there. But the thing is, I had talked to my mom. We were both excited he was coming. I had planned to drive from my house to her house to meet him. And I remember him being, you know, not angry, but maybe frustrated. And I said, she would never miss this on purpose. And it's true. My mom was very involved with our kids. I also noticed other little things. My mom speaks Spanish as well as English, and she used to help my kids with their Spanish homework, and it became not really something she could do anymore. She would get lost driving places, places she'd been all the time, including, you know, going to and from my house. So,
wow, that's really heartbreaking, and you know, it's really sad when someone you know it's not even able to remember who you are, forget things, and but my prayer is that we're able to through research, through science, that there will continue to be the opportunity to research and see what they can come up with to help fight this disease. That's my prayer, So thank you so much for your responses. So tell us about a little bit about your caregiving experience. I know you did mention that she is in a senior facility right now, but prior to that, was she staying at home? Were you, as a family, helping with her care?
Yes. So her journey was, at first she was at home. She was living alone. She was about 15 miles away from me, and a lot of traffic in the DC metro area. So we, as her disease progressed, first we started trying to get out to see her 3 times a week and making sure we got her food and groceries and stocked her up. Increasingly, she couldn't handle simple things like making her own meals, putting together meals from the food she had. She went to the grocery store and would buy stuff and leave it in her car and never bring it in the house. So we eventually we were going 5, 6, 7 days a week. And there are 3 of us that live nearby my mom. So we were trying to split that up. And eventually we brought in a caregiver to visit her 3 times a week, but she was confused because she didn't recognize this person and would block them out of the house or lock her or step outside herself when they were in making food for her and say, "There's a stranger in my house. What's going on?" She wouldn't let people in to clean her house, and that sort of fell into disrepair. Eventually, we decided we couldn't handle it anymore and brought her. She lived with me and my sister Bonnie for a long time before we realized even then she needed 24-hour care and supervision. She wandered a lot. We had taken her car keys away, but she would go out the front door and disappear. So
wow. Yeah, safety for individuals who have Alzheimer's is the biggest. We want to make sure that you're safe. And I'm glad when you noticed that she wasn't safe by herself, you thought about a higher level of care, And I know it's not always the easiest to want to have family member, that you've known all your life, go. But sometimes that's the best that we can do for them, because I have 4 little kids. My prayer is that my mom ages well. That's my prayer. But if it gets to the point where, assuming she had one of those, that's my prayer she doesn't. I know there's no way I can handle 4 little kids and also give her the full attention that she deserves. So I'm glad you all had to make a difficult call, but still the right call. So thank you for that. So do any of you, before that, was there any kind of, well, you said you had caregivers come through the house to help out. And how was that experience?
I think the caregivers were wonderful. The first one we brought in was amazing, but it was too early. My mom was physically very healthy. And, but starting to lose her memory. So every time the person came, it was a stranger to her, and she was not in the habit of letting strangers in her house. So the first caregiver ended up we ended up letting them go because we would have to go out there and introduce her to my mom every time. So a second caregiver, we figured out better ways to use her for services that worked for our family. So she had a car and would drive my mom to one of our houses. We also had my mom in a day program for a while, a memory care day program, which was fabulous. And we could use this caregiver from time to time to drive my mom to her day program.
Well, that's a good one, because I never really thought about it like that, and I hope our audience is able to get that's a creative way of beginning that transition, and just helping them mingle with other people, but still be, socialize with other people. So having that day program, it's a great idea. So I'm glad you did mention that. So how have you all been coping? Because this can definitely affect one's family dynamics. Have you guys had any support group, and have you been part of any kind of Alzheimer's support group? Allen, I'll let you talk about that.
Well, I would say that our podcast is our support group. Our mother really dedicated her whole life to wanting Polly and I and our two sisters to be happy. She just absolutely adored us and really raised us all to be not only siblings but friends. So I think when the four of us have any major problems or issues, we're each other's first call and support group. And I'd say what I would add in my case, being the youngest, I'm about 12 years younger than Polly, so I'm 20 and Polly's 32. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a little older than that. But in my case, being the youngest, I don't have a lot of friends my age that have gone through what I'm going through right now. And I think it's because my mom, who's in her mid 80s, she had me later. So I feel that I'm sort of member number one or early within my age group, and all of my friends and my peers are about to go on this journey as their parents start to reach this age. You mentioned that September is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and I don't think there's enough awareness about just how prevalent this disease is. And as the population continues to further age, what a major issue we have on our hands. So I share your prayers for research and leading for a cure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that information and just letting us know about Alz and the Fam podcast. And Mike, I'm going to be tuning in to that and also listening. And also, if I get some information, I don't mind sharing that with our senior community as well. So do you know if there has been I know Polly did say she was when you and your sister were helping with your mom's care. A lot of when I did my research, a lot of something that kept coming up over and over again was caregiver burnout. Did any of you go through any of that, and how did you deal with that?
I think when you're 100% responsible for another person who was your mother, who's used to, frankly, telling me what to do, it's difficult, right? I mean, I really had a difficult time some days controlling my mom. I learned to redirect her behavior, and most of the time that worked. We figured out some things, and my mom is usually just a very sweet person, no conflict, anything like that. But it was difficult, and the thing that was really hard is what Alzheimer's does is forces you to choose in many ways between the people you love. So in my case, my children needed my help, or they needed their bedroom when they were home from college. Yeah. And my mom would be there staying in their bedroom. And so that was the most difficult thing. And there were times, yes, when I was very burned out and I relied on my family, my sisters. I would say, I can't do this anymore. One of you's got to take mom at least for a couple hours. And of course they had a similar situation. Their kids around, they, not an extra bedroom or an extra wet place. Mom wouldn't accept anyone else sort of watching her. And I also relied on a bit from the memory care day program we put my mom in. That was a big relief, even if it was only 3 hours a day.
Yeah. One thing that families that with a loved one that has Alzheimer's, one thing I've come to realize is that help is there. It's hard, but reach out for help. I tend to be a superwoman when I do something, I don't need help, but if you need the help, reach out for help. I know there are caregiving agencies out there that can send someone out. I know sometimes it's not the safest option, because strangers, again, someone new is always a stranger to them, but sometimes we need that extra help. So I would encourage our audience, to make sure that they reach out for help if they feel that they're burnt out and they can't handle it, because it's a difficult situation, and yes, burnout is something that is inevitable. So thank you for sharing about that.
I would add just a bit of appreciation and empathy for how hard it is to ask for help, and not only on the part of the caregiver, but also for a senior or anyone that might be experiencing some memory loss, because the fear of losing one's independence is just so strong and so heartbreaking. Polly was just talking about how sweet our mother is, and it's true, she really is. But in those early conversations with her, anything that even gave her the slightest hint that we were talking about something that might compromise her independence, her ability to continue living in her home, immediately became very defensive and very difficult. And so I would also say, for those in the earlier phases who are dealing with noticing some memory loss in an elderly loved one, the sooner you can begin those conversations, no matter how difficult, the earlier you might be able to get some medical attention on it, the sooner you can begin that journey, the more you might be able to help things over the long term. But it's very hard.
Yes, it is hard. I can only imagine, and that would, we've almost come to the point where we're almost wrapping up, but I would love for you all to leave. You already did some, but I don't mind if you add some more encouraging words for a message of hope to our viewers, because a lot of people, like I said, it's like you stated, it's not easy to know that you're losing your sense of independence. It's one of the most scary situations. So what message do you want to leave with our audience today?
Do you mind if I go first, Alan? I would say the message of hope is there is help out there. First, get diagnosed by a experienced neurologist or Alzheimer's doctor. They can help with a lot of the symptoms of Alzheimer's, prescribing medication or other things. Second of all, I think we have a very honest podcast that dropped today, and we talk about the stages of grief in caregiving, not necessarily stages, but the things that caregivers go through. And I encourage people to listen to that, because you don't have to feel so guilty or feel like you're alone if you listen to that and hear how other people are going through it. The other thing is we've maintained relationships with medical care providers and researchers who have told us about new therapies coming out, who have just continued to work with us. And so I think that is a really important thing to know. Now there's a blood test for Alzheimer's. Getting involved in research is a really hopeful thing to do, because we want to make sure that there is a cure and that enough people participate in research.
That while there are lots of interesting and some exciting trials being done in the healthcare field, searching for therapies that might one day lead to a cure for Alzheimer's, we've learned through our podcasts and in talking with experts that minority populations aren't participating in a lot of this study. And one of the reasons we know this is that our mother is Puerto Rican. So there might be opportunities for studies for minority populations to be in that would be really beneficial, because there's insufficient data in a lot of populations to give researchers the full story that they need to conduct some of these studies. I'm very much oversimplifying it, not as a medical professional, but it's something that we're passionate about. And my message for hope, I think your question one is just that. I think it's okay to feel the grief and weight of this, and that mental health. If we can play a role in destigmatizing the negativity around just some days not feeling mentally well, whether you have a mental illness like Alzheimer's, but also just dealing with the effects of it, feeling tired, feeling sad, know that that's okay, and that there's a community for that. That isn't something to feel weak or apologetic for, and that's part of the community that we hope to find and support through our podcast as well.
Well, thank you so much, Alan. Thank you so much, Polly. We've had some of our viewers even make some comments, people who have loved ones going through with this challenge right now, and they're also sharing their own story. So thank you, because your story is resonating and it's touching people's lives. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing, and so today, our audience, I just want you to get something out of this. We've listened to Alan, we've listened to Polly. Reach out for help. I know it's not the easiest situation, but help is out there. If you notice anything different in the mental orientation of your family member, reach out to a doctor, see if they can get diagnosed. No, don't wait. Just go to get your doctor. Let the family members get diagnosed. And if this is and if it ends up becoming Alzheimer's, reach out for help. Don't try to do this all by yourself. Get involved in research. Ask questions. And don't feel guilty when you have to make that major move from having a family member move from home to a senior facility, because there's only so much that you as an individual can do. We all have our lives. That doesn't mean that we're selfish. Don't let guilt take place, because that has the potential to happen, but don't ever feel that way. Know that there's support group out there. Join a community. There are tons of Alzheimer support groups out there. The Alzheimer's Association has one, I think, in every state. So find a community to belong to. And I pray and hope, and my prayer is always that there should be a cure, through science, through research, to help eradicate this. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Thank you, Esther.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And if you'd like to listen to our podcast, you can find Alls in the Fam anywhere where podcasts are in the marketplace. So you can go to iTunes, or I'm sorry, it's called Apple Podcasts now, and do a search for us. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Look for us. We've got 13 great episodes of different parts of the journey, and we're adding more every 2 weeks. And you can also reach out to us by email or on our website, which is allsinthefampodcast.com. And thanks for having us, Esther.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Alan. So thank you so much, viewers. Thank you for everyone who has tuned in this morning to listen to this episode of Live with Senior Trade Show. Our show was focused on, today's show was focusing on Alzheimer, bringing awareness to Alzheimer and caregiving, how to support that are out there. So I just want to say thank you so much for everyone that has tuned in today to be a part of this show. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter so you can get updates and stay updated about our upcoming events. Don't forget, we're giving out $25 gift card. We always do that on our show. One of our subscribers, email subscribers, will be selected randomly and would get to win that gift card. Don't forget, our viewer, the information to get to his podcast can be seen on the screen. We have all his information on there. If you want to reach out to them to talk more or to listen to their podcast, don't forget to get their information from the screen. Again, my name is Esther 𝐿, and I'll be back here in 2 weeks for another episode of Live with Senior Trade Show. Have a good one. Bye-bye.